Anyways, what's up, ladies and gents? Welcome to perhaps my first episode of this new series I'm calling the Shadow Analysts, where I get like players, coaches, or even casters from other regions to basically watch MPL Singapore, because MPL Singapore is kind of wild right now, right? Especially week 2. So for the first episode, we're gonna have Gideon, not Gideon Booba. And by the way, you can scan that QR code if you want to give him free money.
Yeah, it's a real link. This isn't a joke. This is not fake. I will take your donations. I will scam you for money. I'm that petty.
So what we're going to do is we're going to watch this particular game. This is actually week 2, day 2. This is between Homebois Singapore versus Evil. So for some context is that in game 1, Homebois Singapore literally stomped Team Evil. And Team Evil was supposed to be kind of like the fan favorites. Everybody on the desk kind of voted for them. So right now I'm going to invite Gideon to basically watch and kind of just run us through, especially how the performance is in game 2. But Gideon, do you want to say something about their previous game 1's draft?
On their game 1 draft? Okay, Roger versus Moscow. I think it's interesting. I think this is because this is still kind of theoretical, right? Because Roger is one of those like recent hot picks that people have been starting to pick up a lot more, and definitely depends on how good the player can actually pilot the hero. Same can be said about Moskov, and I think Moskov needs a little bit more map awareness in general, just to make sure that you actually use your ult. So I'm just gonna assume what happened in that previous game is that Moskov was left on an island by himself against the Roger, and somehow, some way, either Carrot or maybe even Sayla walked over into Moskov's lane and made the difference, or either that Anip is just that much better. No, so the only way that I see the only way I see Evil winning is whether or not their two side lanes actually does something, and the only way that they're going to do it is through mid priority, right? Because you're expecting Vixana and as well as this Edith to be able to hard push that mid lane and kind of cover. They have to make a decision, right? Do they cover JayzCasts or Twist. Oh my god, please, Jesus Christ. Player, please pick a name that is memorable. What is Vrin No Cure? I'm just gonna call him No Cure, right? So it's either you protect JS or No Cure, right? One or the other. Unless your game you have Emperor's Eye and you can make a hard read on where the enemy is going to be.
I totally agree with you. The first time when I start seeing Moskov going up against the Rogers, I was like, yo, that's actually a very interesting lane. Alright, so let's move on to the second game draft as well. So we're just gonna scrub.
They kind of give away like a decent amount of information on their bans. Like for example, right? If you don't want to deal with certain, like when you're on red side, there's certain power picks that you don't want to deal with. And I think for Seifel, you just like the Loyi, get that shit out of my face, because it's just annoying. It's not even about team composition at that point. It's more so that her utility is frustrating to deal with. And then they also got rid of the Minotaur, which means that Seifel is very much aware that he doesn't want to deal with like a strong team fight comp, right?
Actually,
yeah, man. Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
perfect.
Okay, you're actually right, because like, by the way, Team Evil is known for this crazy like team fight comps, right?
Interesting. Okay. So let's go through this draft, right? Like I said before, Seifel so far the way that he is drafting is pretty straightforward, right? It's pretty linear. You know that he wants to get rid of like some strong power picks, especially when you're on red side. There are certain things that you just cannot let through. One of them is the Matilda, which is very surprising that we see that Evil decide to get rid of Evil on blue side decides to get rid of it, right? So Matilda gets banned out here. Like imagine we don't see the Roger, right? Then it comes back to Seifel, and he's already technically at this point he's only banned the Loyi. He sees, okay, we still kind of want to play around on it so far. They ban out what Evil is good at. Minotaur. Alright, makes sense. Don't want to deal with the team fight composition. You get rid of the Loyi as well, even more so. Both of these play for team fights. It makes sense, alright? Totally fine. Then we see Evil ban out the Roger, and as soon as we see Roger get banned out, Seifel is like, well, they have first pick. So we have to make sure that Anip actually has a good lane. They respond with the Harith. If they didn't ban out the Roger here, you would see that Seifel would probably change this ban. That's my like sneaking suspicion. My only problem with Evil as of right now is the fact that this Matilda, the Matilda is only threatened because you want this gold lane to do well as much as possible. And yes, Matilda can technically skew the lane in your favor, but I don't think Evil is well practiced in it just yet. I think I'm going to assume that they only to start pulling steam around mid to late game, right? Based on what you've told me, their team fight composition.
Yes.
Generally, team fight compositions don't usually want to play for the early game because that means one bad team fight means that the other team gets a bounce back. So that means they play for mid to late game. This is all under assumption. It's more so because we locked in this Natan so early on that everything else is now affected. So the order of picks is really important here. So we move on from that, right? Yuzong, they get the Valentina. Valentina, to make sure that she can steal the farmist ult, very atypical pro play drafting. Then we go into the second ban phase, and I think this is where Seifel gets a little smart here. They also get rid of the Boxia. So what Boxia tells me, right? Teams who want to ban out Boxia are teams that want to make sure that you don't have either a good response to Fredrin, or B, you can double down on a comp that has some form of healing. So that could be exactly. So it could have been the Rafa, the Florin, or the Florin, the Angela, or even the Matilda. These are your four generally your four enchanter style mages that you depend on. Because we know that Evil wants to play for team fights. Homeboys, maybe there's a lack of identity, but let's say that they're good at everything, right? Both teams are playing at their best, but Evil knows that they're way better. They have a higher win percentage on team fights. So if they get rid of the Arla, it makes sense. It's either they pick it or they ban it, one or the other. And Seifel, he could have taken the Arla himself, but he also needs to make sure that he has like a decent matchup for the gold lane. So he then decides, I'm gonna prioritize the gold lane and say, even if Arla gets banned out, I trust that my EXP, there's not enough bans in the EXP sector to completely deny me, because it doesn't necessarily have to be Khalid, right? It could have been Thamuz, for an example, if they were that worried about the like early turtles, for an example. And I think most interestingly, they also decide to get Rafaela, which is like the all-rounder for their composition to really like put a pretty little bow on it, right? Because Rafaela can show up in either the EXP or even the gold lane and make a difference in comparison to the Florin. Because the Florin, right? Because the Florin, her heal is good and all, but in terms of like how she harasses her opponents, not as good. Like the biggest lane that Florin can really affect is probably the Yuzong lane. Natan, I don't see it happening, right? I don't see it happening because Natan wants the wave to push in. Khalid, his kit allows him a little bit more leeway, right? So he can kind of set up the wave to be pushing towards him because Yuzong is going to be focused on fighting the Khalid when Khalid decides, I need a push. And that's where the heavy spin comes in. So it makes sense, right? And then finally, I think this is the smart pick here. Khalid, because it doesn't matter what this Yuzong does. Khalid generally has a decent early game, and most importantly, he gets out of the lane faster than Yuzong. And that's roughly the draft. The way that I see
he can also reach Nathan as well at the backline.
Exactly, right? He can kind of like set things up. He's also an enabler to Moskov, right? So Moskov now has two enablers. He's got Fredrin, and then he's also got Khalid. He's also got Florin, but this one is a little bit like less reliable because of the duration of the stun, right? But now he has three ways essentially to get on top of his targets so that his ult is
always lands.
His ult is going to be successful. That's the main plan. So in terms of the way that they rotate, Florin can basically like show up whenever and however, but Rafaela is always going to be faster than her. So like Florin is very responsive to where the Rafaela shows up. So the way that I see this draft is that Evil, the only way that they win this is either Yuzong gets like a significant lead in this lane. Like he needs to be shitting on Khalid really, really hard. Like Khalid needs to be 2 levels down. Because even if Khalid is weak, his ult is still good. If Khalid lands a 5-man ult, it's like, it doesn't matter how weak you are, that's going to change the game straight away.
It's like an Arlot in a sense.
Exactly.
Okay.
He's like Arlot, but worse.
True.
So that's generally how I see these comps. I think overall, Evil responded pretty well to how Homeboys kind of set things up. I do think that like Seifel has a lot of faith in Anip. That's for sure. Like, something must have gone in scrims, and Anip was like, I'm really good at this Moskov, and I do very well if it were Roger, or even if it's Natan, right? Because Moskov and Natan kind of do very similar things.
Yep. Yeah, and it was kind of like carrying Homeboy Singapore in a sense, because Homeboy Singapore is like literally down in dumpsters in terms of like their power rankings, right? They did not have a very good week 1, so this is why I think Anip was very important in Homeboy Singapore.
And then topside, even Sap. I love this. Okay. I'm gonna pause it right here. So, what I love about this the most is the fact that Sap decided to sit in the lane, right? Because at this point, he has no use. He has no use if he runs back down to bot side to try and hit level 5, right? It just means that as of yet, topside will be in the control of Evil. So what Sap does is that he helps both Bougie and as well as Cure fight for this next wave of minions.
Yeah. So Sap being there kind of helps him clear, push away the pressure, and also helps Bougie and Cure take to 4, whereas in the mid lane, Yoon and Carrot is just battling it out to try to get to level 4 as well.
Yeah. And we know for a fact that Carrot is going to hit 4 first. Because if we compare Florin and well as Rafa's overall clear speed, Rafa has a better clear speed than Yun.
Yes.
Because again, with the blessing, she can basically hit the entire wave compared to Yun, who has to hit like 1 minion at a time, right? That's how we calculate this. So it's smart. I think that Sap helping out his top side really alleviates a lot of the pressure from both Bougie and Cure, because now we're going to respond to Evil rather than trying to fight for the tempo. Oh, that's a big whiff.
Yeah.
That's a big whiff. Not ideal. Oh, Bougie, please tell me you live. Okay, he lives. Thank God. Ooh! No, Kara tries to flicker for it. Doesn't matter. Cure comes back into lane. Okay, I can tell you exactly where the mistake happens.
Okay.
Here's the mistake right here. This is kind of dumb. Personally, here's why I think this is not the smartest of decisions, right? Because you are banking on a 50-50. You are banking that you can outplay 3 people who are about to hit level 4, right? Okay. Everybody here is about to hit level 4. You're hoping that Sap and Bougie can kill this minion faster than Twist Powerful, maybe even Sayla, right? Using the Shadow Strike to get rid of this minion, right? So when Vin jumps in, Powerful can instantly use the heavy spin to lock him in place right here, right? And there's nothing Sap and Bougie can really do about it. They just have to kind of like watch and hope that Vin is able to like spam flicker in time and hop this way. Or maybe even hop this way. It really doesn't matter where he hops to, right? But the main issue that I have here is that there's no reason to fight for this. It doesn't matter if you give that level 4. Like, Vin is thinking in his head probably that he could outplay this by hitting 4, goes for the Sand Tornado, and hits like multiple people and chunks them all out. Putting 2 people, maybe at the very least putting Sayla out of the fight, right? Wait, is that Sayla? Yeah, Sayla out of the fight. We'll see how this plays out. Oh, guess what? They all hit 4 because Twist smartly gets rid of that wave. Vin is like, oh shit, they hit 4. I need to get rid of this 1 minion to make the difference. And guess what? He still doesn't hit 4. He's a little bit off. Okay. He's a little bit off. Like, this is nitpick. Honestly, to me, it's not that big of a deal. I'm just nitpicking here on a micro level, right? I don't know if technical coaches would agree with me on this one, but somebody needs to communicate, hey, clear up the wave so that we can all hit 4, and then maybe we can 50-50 it and get a couple of battle spells. If you can get, like, a heavy spin out of Powerful, oh, man, Sap is gonna be such a big boy. He'll be so strong because Sap loses his 1 tool to give him an edge over the turtle fights. So that's where that was one of the issues that I have. So Vin, he goes in, he gets like a chunk on Sayla. Sayla is like, oh no, I'm like 60% of my HP. But notice where everybody is standing. They're trying to respond to this. Everybody's trying to respond to this when somebody needed to get rid of this 1 minion and then walk away. So we play this out. Sap jumps in, he hits Powerful. Powerful, great trigger finger, doesn't even bother using his ult. He's holding it. They chunk Sap, Cure, Bougie. They want that level 4. And the worst part, mid lane's still not level 4.
Ooh.
So that means at some point of time, the mid laner missed out EXP. Twist jumps in, he hits 4, he uses his Petrify, and then it's GG. At that point, once that one kill goes through, that's when Powerful has the green line. I would rather have a 5v4 than having to contest in a 5v5 against the Fredrin using my heavy spin.
So that's why he pops to use heavy spin.
Exactly. So he wants to guarantee this kill. He wants to guarantee this kill no matter what. Like Twist, he's already committed the Petrify, so they need to get something for this. If not, all of this was wasted. Even the Black Dragon form is used, right? Gets the pull, Sap responds, and then Sayla is like, wait a minute, hold on, I could maybe affect this. As long as I don't get hit by the Appraiser's Wrath, then it's totally fine. And that's where you see the body slam come in from Powerful to save Twist. Sayla walks back in, dashes out of the way from the middle of the Appraiser's Wrath, does nothing. Does literally nothing to Sayla.
Yeah.
And they get a free kill onto Sap when Twist jumps back in, and they also manage to get the fear off of Sap. So I think that Homebois SG, they didn't have to do this. But they're not covering the tier 2. They're willing to trade the tier 2 as the Black Dragon form. Get out of there, buddy. Run. What?
He chose to land there,
That's so wild.
Yeah, he chose to land there, right?
That's so fucking wild. Wait, and then Anip is gonna get even more from this. Sayla ends up dying for this. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's why Anip. That's why they really. Homebois Singapore really likes the Moskov.
Oh,
that's why.
Oh man.
And there was no setup for Anip, right? If you notice, he just landed that.
He
right
just did
there.
it. He just did it.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Okay. So you can see the different decisions that are being made at every point of this sequence. So they're trading tier 2 for tier 2, right? So here we see tier 2 being taken. Natan also is going to trade tier 2. They don't mind trading this at the end of the day, but they shouldn't be fighting. They shouldn't be fighting unless the angle shows itself, right? The opportunity to actually get a good fight. Like, he uses the entropy, this is atypical, this is fine. Twist, he's gonna try and fight for this. And I think that's okay. As an EXP laner, you need to buy that extra bit of time. Because as much time as he's wasting here, it gives more time for Natan to actually make his way down to that mid wave and maybe take out a mid-tier 1. I don't think he can definitely not get that inhibitor, but even if he doesn't get mid-tier 1, right, he's still in position to join this fight if it escalates even further. So this is okay. This is totally fine, totally fine, totally fine. This is where I think the problems start to emerge. I don't think that Twists noticed where the Fredrin was last seen. He was last seen here, on this sector of the map. Did he? Alright. Let's check it out. Oh, he does! He does spot him! What the fuck? Then why did he take this?
It's actually on purpose, right? Because I'm pretty sure the Black Dragon form duration is actually longer than that.
It is longer. It is longer.
Yeah.
What he could have done was flown across and then flown down towards where Powerful was walking up to, which was here.
So
right?
basically, Twist is probably landing there saying, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna buy more time for Carrot and JayzCasts to basically push mid.
Maybe, but I think he thinks his dick is gigantic. He's got no Petrify, no ult. Powerful can bail him out, but that's on condition, right? They have everything. There is 4 people on this side of the map. They know Bougie has his ult still. So like I don't see how this is ever going to work. Watch this. He dies for free. I think even he recognized
He baited everybody in.
Yeah, and then everybody, like, Sayla ends up getting punished for this, which is so sad. Like, well played to Anip. He played that well. Powerful, he has to use his ult and get out of there, but look at how strong Anip is at Trinity build plus blue. He's so strong. His on-hit effects are ridiculous. Okay, Cure, he's about to die again. Okay, he wants Sayla, ends up dying. Oh! Okay. So, remember when I was talking about resources? They're looking for Homebois SG is looking for an angle where they can actually get this Natan, and once Natan is out of the picture, they can start going for everybody else.
They don't
So,
need to
Natan-
necessarily kill Nathan, right?
Yes, because Natan is only strong when his passive is active and when he has, and he's the most dangerous in his entropy. So now that they know, hey, he just threw all his fucking spells out of here, the rest of his team is going to be like looking to cover him, right? And they're covering him well because he's already entropied out of the fight, right? This is where he's standing right now, and Sayla is heavily out of position. So they start pushing forward. Powerful sees the angle. He has to use the heavy spin to skew the fight in their favor. Anip walks up, and look at how much goddamn damage. They all line up for this.
They queued up for the damage.
Look at that. Bow! Look at the two backliners. Bow! 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 They just get shit on, and Jason's like, fuck that. Natan out.
Do you know what's the best you know what's the pastime of Singaporeans?
Don't tell me playing bowling.
No, queuing up. They love queuing up. I'm serious. Like I've been in Singapore for this long. Whenever I see a queue, I just ignore the queue. But Singaporeans love the queue.
Oh man.
I don't know.
Both comps in terms of strength is about the same. Okay, Sap gets pushed away. Really nice by Powerful. Really nice. Good stuff. Good stuff. Wait, how did Evil lose this?
Exactly. That's why I picked this game. Now I remember now.
This is an endgame scenario.
Yeah, this is an endgame scenario.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Anip was just shredding them apart.
What the fuck happened? What the fuck?
Yeah.
How did it all go wrong? Every single time. It looked like Evil in all three of the situations where I paused it and slowed down. Evil is like doing a much better job. I'm gonna be real. I think Homebois SG probably should have lost this.
Yes.
Okay. So they go in. They've zoned out. They've lost two of their biggest ultimates already. Anip goes for the Lord. They're doing it. They're lining up. They shouldn't be lining up. Entropy just is wasting a lot of time. He should just be honestly, everybody should be focusing on that crystal. They don't do it in time, and then Anip just pops off. Could they have closed this out sooner? Let me see. How many minions did they have walking up? 2 minions. Man, the high ground defense just because they had Moskov. Okay, so those 2 minions eventually die right about Veer. Veer ults the wave. He might have just
charge as well. Did? No
concussive blast. Concussive blast plus the ult.
Concussive blast, that's right. Damn.
Yeah. Because this is everybody should have been hitting the crystal, right? Like there's no reason for them to be doing anything else but hitting the crystal. Like Twists, he jumps to try and zone them away from the wave. Okay, sure enough. But then Sayla, Kara, and Powerful should all be hitting the crystal. They don't do enough damage. So they try, and No Cure jumps in and literally saves the game right here.
He found the kill.
And then he goes behind them and kills everybody. Anip makes the play of his life. And Anip didn't trust Yun. He didn't trust Yun! Yun flickered for it!
Now you know why the Moscow Prior pick.
Huh.
I think it's gonna get permaban right now. After this game.
I don't think it's because it's such a great pick. I think it's, unfortunately, once the game plan, like, I don't think Evil has the foresight, right? I think there's a lot of moments, like, they communicate what they want and just that. Everything after that is free game.
Unga bunga.
I think they're not talking about like, hey, we can't be like walking up in a line like that. We need to be like, who is doing what? Where are the positions and what are your cooldowns? I think that's the most important thing that Evil is not communicating fast enough, or nobody is taking it into account. All right, let's slow this down. I gotta give it a Powerful though. He is playing the Mina Kai. So fundamentals of a Lord Dance, right? There is pulling the Lord to your side, pulling the Lord to the enemy side, right? Obviously, like, this is red, this is blue. Generally, blue side wants to pull it closer to them. Then, they didn't check this bush. And I think this is a bit of a mistake coming in from Evil's side. Evil think that they have this all to themselves.
Yeah.
So they think that they have a lot more space when in reality, this area here is the danger zone. If not, I would say even more like this. This area here is the danger zone. Like, that's where they absolutely should not be walking up to, because they can get jumped on, right? Especially if they're by themselves. Somebody should have cleared. Now, they need to clear out bush A here. Vin's bush currently, which is the beetle bush. They need to have a position where they can draw a line in the sand, which ideally is here. Everything behind this line needs to be in control of evil. Right? Everything behind this line here needs to be in control of evil. They need to be worried if, from Tribe Rush, they get walked up on. That's totally fine, because Powerful has vision over this area when he's standing here. Or even where he's standing right now, right? He can generally see around this area. So they wait for it to get decently low. Now this is where all hell breaks loose, right? Because when you have the Lord relatively low to retry range, that's when comms get very, very messy, because everybody is focused on a different thing. Let's see exactly what happens. So we know that Jis gets jumped on.
Okay.
He gets jumped on. Sap, he still needs to kind of hold the front line, but they know they can't really do much about Mr. Black Dragon here. So Sayla is going to stand in a position where he affects the most amount of people, which is Carrot, Powerful, and Twist.
Yeah.
Sap gets knocked in a really weird angle. Can't do much about it because he managed to dash. Okay, Marksman gets chunked. Holy Baptism comes. But like we said at the very beginning, who are the enablers? The enablers. So despite, okay, I'll pull it back I'll pull it back and you'll see the exact moment where it happens. So we see, okay, keep your eyes on Veer, right? And keep your eyes on both Carrot and Jis. Those are the two people that we need to keep our eyes on. Forget about everybody else. So we play it out. He jumps. He gets the stun right here. Anip uses his ult. As soon as this connects. So the arrow is mid-travel right now. And Holy Baptism comes out. Boom! TP's behind. Gets Jis. And now Anip has to fight for his life. Dashes even further backwards.
But he pushes JayzCasts away.
Exactly. We don't get to see what exactly happened here, but Anip is outplaying this entire situation when he should have died. And they end up losing, Evil end up losing the Lord because the fight is too split apart. Like, Sayla cannot find a good angle to actually get a nice Netherrealm. And somehow Buji was able to beeline it, goddamn beeline it towards Anip's side. And Yun, he doesn't have to do that. He just presses his ult to keep Anip alive. Dude, everybody here is so happy. And I'm guessing that the person on the far left here is their EXP later.
Cure, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. He's the only one who's like, dude, I sucked at that game, but man, he literally saved the game twice.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's their first win. It's their first series as well.
It's their first series.
First
I would
series
say that
win.
I think that Homeboys, they need to, like, they got pretty lucky here, I'm not gonna lie. Evil had a significant advantage a couple of times.
Typhoon texting already.
Cypher texting is just like, okay, here's what we gotta work on.
Taking notes or texting.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think that Anip, like, he was like, he in terms of like carrying, maybe he wasn't carrying as hard as Jis, but he definitely was outplaying a lot of situations where he should have died.
Yeah. And what do you think about Homeboys, based on this particular game itself?
Homeboys, I think they're very I think that they're very young. Because we're talking about how I feel about Homeboys, right? I know that Evil, some of their players are pretty decent. They have the angle down. I just think the comms need to be a little bit better. For Homeboys SG, in terms of like the game plan, and the way that specifically they play these Lord dances is really, really risky. Like, let's take this one for an example, right? This one, they got so lucky that Evil didn't just sniff out where Veer is. And I think that Homeboys, in situations like these, they need to start posturing. They need to like show presence here. All this whole sequence is because Evil is making the mistake. I think that Homeboys SG against a better team probably would not have been so lucky. That's my general thoughts on it.
Man, truly amazing. Thanks, Gideon. So I really appreciate all of this, man. This is so informative, and
I generally think that Homeboys SG, they're linear. They're pretty linear. They're playing straightforward compositions, and it's very Singaporean-esque. And of course, the person who needs to play the high mechanic hero obviously is going to be the Malaysian. So I think that's pretty ironic, to be fair. Because again, it's like, you know, Anip is the only Malaysian there, and he's like willing to play a high-risk, high-reward marksman. Like Moskov. If he had missed a single one of these arrows, if he didn't outplay a couple of these situations, Evil would have straight up won. Like, it's 17-12 and Jizzes is 11-2-1. And earlier he was like 10-0.
Yep. Okay. Alright, thank you very much, Gideon. Appreciate it. So thank you very much for joining us for this time round. Hope to see you guys next time. Thank you.